Imagine a retail giant with over 330 massive stores that completely ignores the modern corporate playbook. It spends 0 rupees on television commercials. It refuses to set up flashy flagship outlets in premium shopping malls. It doesn't bother with loyalty programs, app discounts, or trendy interior designs. Yet, on any given Sunday, its aisles are so packed that checkout lines stretch to the back of the store. This is DMart. While retail conglomerates worldwide crumble under heavy debt and changing consumer habits, DMart has quietly engineered one of the most profitable brick-and-mortar operations per square foot on the planet. They didn't do this by chasing high profit margins. They did it by weaponizing a low-margin, high-velocity engine that defies traditional retail logic. But to truly understand how this unglamorous grocery chain outmaneuvered multi-billion-dollar empires, we have to look past the crowded storefronts and examine the unique mind of the architect who built it. Every business inherits the DNA of its creator. DMart is not the product of a traditional retail executive. It is the physical manifestation of a legendary value investor's mind. Radhakishan Damani spent decades studying balance sheets, identifying corporate flaws, and mastering market psychology long before he ever sold a single pack of biscuits. When he transitioned into retail in 2002, he brought an absolute, unyielding obsession with capital efficiency and debt avoidance. Damani didn't rush to scale. He spent nearly 5 years perfecting just a handful of stores in Mumbai, quietly observing consumer habits and treating every operational expense not just as a cost, but as a dangerous leak in efficiency. His investing mindset taught him to ignore short-term market noise and focus entirely on long-term cash velocity. This patient, hyper-disciplined approach allowed him to spot a massive structural vulnerability in the way everyone else was trying to build modern retail in India. In the early 2000s, India's organized retail boom was taking off, but the early movers were all making the exact same mistake. They were building fancy, air-conditioned destinations in expensive, high-rent shopping malls. They filled their shelves with high-margin fashion, electronics, and imported luxury goods, assuming the emerging middle class wanted an upscale Western shopping experience. But Damani saw the disconnect. To the average Indian household, these malls were weekend entertainment destinations, places to window shop, not places to buy their monthly groceries. Meanwhile, these retailers were drowning in massive rent bills and unsold inventory. Damani realized that the true massive market opportunity lay in the unglamorous, non-discretionary monthly grocery basket, the daily essentials that families had to buy every month, regardless of economic conditions. To capture this, he needed a radically different business model, one driven not by premium margins, but by sheer speed. Think of DMart not as a traditional shop, but as a high-velocity distribution engine. Most retailers operate on a simple concept: buy a product, add a comfortable 25 to 30% profit margin, and wait for someone to purchase it. DMart completely flipped this equation. They operate on an everyday low pricing model. They accept a razor-thin margin, often just 14 to 15%, and pass the savings directly onto the consumer. This creates a powerful, self-sustaining flywheel. Rock-bottom prices attract massive foot traffic. Massive traffic drives ultra-fast inventory turnover. And that rapid turnover gives DMart the leverage to buy in colossal volumes directly from manufacturers at deep discounts. By focusing heavily on staple foods and household goods that turn over within days rather than months, DMart essentially gets paid by consumers weeks before it has to pay its suppliers. This negative working capital cycle means the business funds its own growth, leaving competitors scrambling to figure out how DMart can afford to sell goods so incredibly cheap. The core secret to DMart's pricing advantage isn't found on the store shelves. It's hidden deep within their vendor relationships. In the retail industry, major brands are accustomed to waiting 30, 60, or even 90 days to get paid by big retail chains. This delays their cash flow and adds massive financial stress. DMart completely disrupted this dynamic by offering to pay its suppliers and manufacturers within 7 to 11 days, faster than almost anyone else in the country. In exchange for this unmatched liquidity, manufacturers gladly grant DMart an extra 2 to 3% cash discount on top of standard wholesale rates. But here is the critical strategic twist. Instead of pocketing that extra discount to boost its own corporate profits, DMart immediately passes that savings straight back to the consumer at the shelf level. This locks in the volume flywheel, making it virtually impossible for competitors to match DMart's prices without bleeding cash. But keeping prices this low requires keeping fixed costs permanently flat, which brings us to DMart's most formidable competitive moat. While almost every modern retail chain prides itself on an asset-light model by renting storefronts, DMart chose an aggressive, asset-heavy approach. They buy the land or secure ultra-long 30-plus-year leases for their stores. In corporate strategy, this is a permanent game changer. For a typical retailer, rent is a volatile, escalating fixed expense that eats up 6 to 10% of their revenue. As a neighborhood grows and property values rise, their rent spikes, squeezing their already tight margins. DMart completely bypasses this trap. By owning their properties, their real estate costs remain virtually flat over decades, transforming inflation into a competitive advantage. Furthermore, they intentionally avoid high street locations, choosing instead to build large, functional spaces deep within residential suburbs, where their target middle-class audience actually lives. This real estate fortress gives them a durable cost advantage that simply cannot be replicated by any competitor trapped in a commercial lease agreement. Step inside a DMart, and the first thing you notice is what's missing. There are no elaborate displays, no ambient lifestyle photography, and no fancy flooring. It is a masterclass in operational minimalism. DMart manages its inventory with absolute discipline, capping its selection at around 5,000 to 7,000 high-moving product variants, compared to the 20,000-plus variants stocked by rivals. If an item doesn't sell fast, it is ruthlessly removed from the shelves. They even maximize their physical dimensions by utilizing vertical space. The highest shelves double as mini warehouses, allowing pallets of extra stock to be stored right on the shop floor. This completely eliminates the need for expensive external warehouses and additional logistics teams. Every square foot of a DMart store must earn its keep daily. By cutting out all aesthetic waste, minimizing product shrinkage, and spending zero on national marketing campaign trails, DMart has shaved down its operational costs to an absolute bare minimum. When you piece all these elements together, you see why DMart continues to dominate the retail landscape while its competitors stumble. Traditional retail conglomerates routinely fall victim to vanity metrics, expanding too fast geographically, taking on heavy debt to build beautiful stores, and diversifying into slow-moving product categories. DMart did the exact opposite. They expanded using a strict concentric cluster strategy, opening new stores outward in tight, deliberate circles from their existing distribution hubs. They prioritized financial health over rapid growth, remaining debt-free while building an ironclad reputation for transparent, uncomplicated value. The Indian consumer doesn't want complex loyalty points or confusing buy 3, get 1 free gimmicks. They want to see the crossed-out retail price on the shelf tag and know exactly how much hard cash they are saving today. DMart understood this psychology perfectly. But as consumer habits evolve, this brick-and-mortar juggernaut faces an entirely new breed of competitors. The greatest challenge to DMart's dominance no longer comes from traditional brick-and-mortar rivals, but from the digital frontier. The rapid rise of e-grocery platforms and the explosive growth of quick commerce apps have completely shifted urban consumer expectations. Today, millions of households can order daily essentials and have them delivered to their doorsteps within 10 to 15 minutes. In response, DMart hasn't panicked or rushed into burning cash on expensive delivery fleets. Instead, they've introduced DMart Ready, a highly measured hybrid omni-channel model. Instead of offering free home delivery that would erode their thin operating margins, they utilize a network of small neighborhood pickup points. Customers order online and walk to a nearby kiosk to collect their groceries themselves. While quick commerce thrives on impulse, convenience-driven purchases, DMart's core defense remains its unrivaled structural pricing advantage on heavy, bulk monthly household supplies, a segment where digital delivery economics still struggle to compete on price. The story of DMart is ultimately a masterclass in business execution. It proves that you do not need a revolutionary technology or a complex corporate vision to build a legendary empire. True corporate greatness can be achieved simply by executing a classic business model with unyielding, long-term discipline. DMart succeeded because it kept its strategy radically simple. Understand the core values of your customer. Treat your suppliers as vital financial partners. Eliminate every single rupee of operational fat and protect your balance sheet from the dangers of debt and inflation. Radhakrishan Damani built an empire not by chasing short-term trends, but by honoring the timeless thrift culture of the Indian middle class. In an era obsessed with disruption, growth hacks, and viral marketing, DMart stands as a powerful, enduring reminder to the corporate world. Outstanding execution of a simple, disciplined strategy will always defeat a complex, poorly executed vision.